Hello and welcome to the RPG Rundown. I'm Seth.
I'm Jeff. From dungeons to deep space, we have the systems and the stories for your table. Hey, well, welcome back to the RPG Rundown. Today we are on episode 39, and today we are previewing an upcoming RPG that just launched on Kickstarter from Magpie Games.
That is right. Today we are strapping in and taking to the skies. We're diving headfirst into the Temeraire RPG, based on the incredible series of books by Naomi Novik. Dragons, duty, and daring maneuvers await in this peek at what's coming.
Absolutely. And so, Seth, real quick, because I know you're a huge fan of the Temeraire series, and I personally have not yet read it. It is very high on my list. But if someone were listening right now and they've never read the books, can you give us your 60-second elevator pitch on what it's all about?
Absolutely. So, Temeraire as a setting, and we'll talk more about this in our peak system momentarily. But Temeraire is essentially an alternate historical fiction of the Napoleonic Wars. And it's written very well, but it's kind of in a style of like um, almost like you might think of like Jane Austen. Uh,
Mhm.
but again, set during this kind of alternate historical fiction with the
Okay.
big caveat or the fantasy addition of dragons are real. No
Mm,
magic. Okay, there's no magic involved. It's just humanity on
mhm,
Earth during the Napoleonic Wars. Many of the same historical battles and events happen, but all with the caveat or the added feature of dragons being real.
mhm,
So,
interesting. Okay. I feel like I'd have paid a lot better attention in history class if dragons were part of the story. So I
right?
think I have to. Yeah, no, I absolutely have. I've got to check it out. Like I said, it's very high on my list. I'm finishing out a series right now, and then I'm going to be diving in. But yeah, for those of you that are new to the podcast or new to the YouTube channel, we have two systems that we use to look at different TTRPG systems. We have our critical review system for published RPGs, which stands for critical. The C is character creation, role play opportunities, integration of lore, tabletop experience, in game mechanics, combat system, artwork and design, and learning curve.
That's
And
right.
go ahead, to say, and go ahead and tell us about our peak system.
Yes, excuse me, I had to take a drink.
No, you're good.
So, for systems that may have been announced but aren't published yet, or they've launched on crowdfunding and have some sort of playtest material, we have
Mhm.
our peak system, which stands for premise, engine, atmosphere, and key features. And started, we used to do some reviews on some of these systems that were in preview or beta.
Mhm.
But we decided we needed a different kind of system because we wanted to apply our critical review system just to fully launched RPG systems that are out
Right,
there. So,
right. And yeah, because ultimately there are a lot of games that are out there that are in like beta or pre-release or alpha or whatever, and like we can play them and enjoy them and give a really good review of them, but then a lot of things can change between then and actual release. So we save our critical reviews for when they're fully released.
that's
But we
right.
do have this peek where we get to take a sneak peek at the systems themselves.
Absolutely. But before we dive into the peak system, let's talk about uh, the Temeraire RPG and where it's at, just in development right now. And where we are at right now is actually it is live on Kickstarter as of recording. We are recording on March 2nd. Happy March.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it launched just recently,
Mhm.
I think 2 days ago, and it is had a $50,000 goal, and it is already at $353,576 with 2,636 backers.
Mhm.
Still 23 days to go. So definitely go over there and take a look. There's a really
Yeah.
cool video. There is a lot of information. At this point, anyone else backing will have missed the first 60 hours bonus. There was a free cloth map that they had in there. But the what they are offering itself is really good, and it's bundled pretty well. You can get you can also go there to download the quick start rules, which we are going to be taking, loosely kind of taking a look at today, and kind of putting in our peak system. But you can download the quick start rules. You can also go through, and there's links to watch the launch party with the author, Naomi Novik, as well as check out Magpie Games' first actual play of the Temeraire RPG. So they had some people that they invited in, or maybe they're in house, I'm not sure, play it. And so you can check that out there. But kind of like what I said too, we'll get into this in just a second. But there's a lot of cool stuff. There's the full package deal of a player's book and an extended adventure book with other continents, because for the most part, I think the core rules are going to focus around Europe and the European theater, but there's also books in the series that go to Africa, that go to China or Asia, that go to South America and Australia. So whole world. So yeah, it's
Kind of
really cool.
crazy.
Yeah.
I'm so used to playing fantasy games that when you're like Japan and China, like that just sounds weird to me that it's actual places and not weird fantasy names and stuff. So
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's it's definitely a unique setting for sure.
yeah.
So, but yeah,
Yeah.
I
Okay.
think if you're ready, we can dive on into it.
Yeah. So the first thing we want to look at with the peak system is we want to understand the premise. And so, out of the two of us, you are certainly the expert here. So go ahead and explain to us, a little bit more the premise. I know we talked just a little bit about it in the elevator pitch, but what is Temeraire? What is this world? What are the dragons? What are the people? How does all that work in this system in the lore?
Yeah, so the premise of Temeraire as a setting, or whatever, is that, like I said, it's the Napoleonic Wars, right? So you have Napoleon, who's conquering all of Europe, and then you have Britain, or the kind of British Empire and all of their expansion across the world, who are opposing him, or kind of leading the coalition of forces that are opposing Napoleon. Um, and so dragons are real, right? That's
Mhm.
part of the plot or the setting here. But it's not just that they're real; it's that dragons are real and they are domesticated. Essentially, you still have this kind of dragon bond between a rider and a dragon, or a captain is what they call them in Temeraire, and very similar to kind of Dragon Riders of Pern. Not necessarily telepathic link that they kind of have, but it's a very emotional bond, and so they're kind of bonded for life. And so the
Okay.
whole thing with that is that the dragon captains form, and their dragons form, what is the aerial core in all these wars. And so you've
Okay.
got the British aerial core, you have the French aerial core. There are other aerial cores and organizations in the rest of the world, other cultures that form around dragons in different ways, which is also fun to explore later in the books. But
Yeah.
the main premise is that you've got a captain, which is the character that you'll create in the system, and
Okay.
you also create your dragon as part of this kind
Ooh.
of two character system.
Hmm.
And so you get to create your character, the dragon captain, and the dragon. And there are different breeds of dragons with different
Yeah.
abilities. They have kind of like lightweight, fast dragons. There's heavyweight or middleweight dragons, which are, you know, have all sorts of different kind of roles in combat.
Hmm.
Um, and so that's kind of the premise of the setting, as well as um, lots, there's a lot of potential for not only combat, right?
Yeah.
So really cool aerial battles between
Hmm.
dragons. There's also in the books there's a lot of interactions with the dragons, fighting against ships, like actual naval ships. Think
Right.
old school. Um, which funny enough, in real history, okay, there
Hmm.
is a combat naval ship called the Temeraire. Okay, and
Mm,
that
okay.
is the British captain in the books. He is a ship's captain. He's not an
Hmm.
aerial captain, but they capture a French ship, and he ends up having to bond with this dragon. And the only name he could think of is this French ship because they captured a French ship. He thinks of the
Hmm.
French ship named Temeraire, and he names it Temeraire, the dragon Temeraire.
Mm,
And
okay.
so that is the starting point for the books. But for you, the player, you're going to be creating a captain, you're going to be creating a dragon, and then you're going to be figuring out your role in uh, like the formation. Because what happens in the books is that you're part of a formation of dragons, okay? And
Hmm.
you could be a small, nimble dragon out on the wings. You could
Hmm.
be a heavyweight that's in the back. You could be a dragon with a special ability like breathing fire or acid, or other abilities. And so there's just a lot. There's just a lot
Yeah.
going on. Um, but basically, dragons are sentient partners to the captains. They're not mounts.
Mhm.
They're sentient partners. But the cool
Right.
thing is, because they are like this aerial core, they also treat them like ships. So the bigger
Mhm.
dragons have crews just like ships do. There's like a first, there's lieutenants, and there's um, riflemen, and
Mhm.
all of these crew members will strap on to the dragons, who are wearing this leather harness, and they have like carabiners with straps that they attach to, and they
Right.
climb all over the dragon. There's crew that are underneath the dragon in kind of this like rigged netting uh set it
Mhm.
situation, where they can carry cargo, and they can drop bombs, and they have like a you know surgeon on board, and they like they're doing everything.
Right.
It's like
Oh, yeah, yeah.
full. Think of it as like World War II, uh you know flying fortress bombers with like
Right.
17, with like 9, 10, 12 people on board. That's kind of what this
Mhm.
is, but there's even more than that on the bigger ones.
Right.
Or you've got the dragons that are like a scout, and they're the size of a really big horse, and it's one guy.
Okay.
and
Yeah.
and so yeah, there's
Those are your quick kind of dart around, agile,
yeah,
move fast. Yeah.
runs the full gamut of
Yeah.
the kind of dragons that
Okay.
you can see in this world. So
Yeah. No, very cool. And I think, I mean, if you picture a world where dragons are real, I really think that's kind of what happens. Assuming we don't just,
yeah,
uh, become extinct because they decide to tame us instead. You know,
right,
if
right.
you put it in this kind of world, I could definitely see that happening, which
I think there
is
was a
really
movie
cool.
like
And
that, where dragons. It was like an
yeah,
early 2000s movie or something. I don't remember. I remember it. It was crazy.
right. I will say, for my modern readers, if you have read any of the Fourth Wing books, the bonds and stuff in Fourth Wing seem very similar to Temeraire. So I do wonder if
Oh,
bits and
it
pieces
could
were
easily be
stolen.
adapted, I'm sure.
Yeah, yeah. So now I know in like Fourth Wing that you have the rider, they're bonded to the dragon, and then if the dragon dies, the rider dies. But they're like somewhat telepathically, or they are telepathically linked.
So
Yeah.
that is very closely, that is a lot closer to Anne McCaffrey's Dragon Riders of Pern, where if the dragon dies,
Okay.
the rider dies, and they are telepathically linked and can
Yeah.
talk to each other. And then once they're bonded, you can usually talk to other dragons too, I think, even maybe.
Okay.
In the other one, but
In that one, yeah, yeah. I was gonna say in the Fourth Wing series, they can't. They can only talk to their own dragon.
okay.
But oh, well, that's very cool. That's very really interesting. I don't know. To me, it
Yeah.
sounds really good. I'm pretty excited to actually start reading the books. And
Mm.
then I know, like, as soon as I read the books, I'm going to be itching to play the system. So,
Oh yeah.
with that, let's dive into, I think, the engine part, which is, at
Yeah,
least what we know so
absolutely.
far about the mechanics and the dice system, character creation, things like that. So what do we know? I know that you have the quick start. You've looked over it pretty well. What do you think of that system, and what's that system looking like?
Yeah, so again, you can download the quick start from the Kickstarter. I'll show it briefly here, but we're not going to go through it fully.
Right.
But it's laid out pretty well. Um, you've got if you've read the books, you'll know who's on the cover here. Um, but yeah, so these are the quick start rules. So essentially, um, this system is based off of Magpie Games. A and I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right. They're Adana system, and it's got that kind of like A and E combined letter at the
Hmm. I
beginning.
see it. Yeah.
I don't know how to pronounce it.
I don't either. So
Adana is what
I
I
think,
think it is.
I think you nailed it. I mean, I don't know how to pronounce it either, but I'm going to say you nailed it. Someone correct us if he butchered it.
Yeah, so it's based off the Adana system, which does have um, it's a dice pool system. And let me see if I can explain this correctly because I've not played it. I've not played it. Um, it's kind of Magpie's new flagship game engine,
Hmm.
and it is a dice pool based modular conflict engine. That's how they describe it. It's made to handle everything from quick checks to deep cinematic contests. And so there's kind of this core identity where um, you have this dice pool and that you can have core roles handle like, your kind of fast resolutions without kind of slowing things down.
Hmm.
That allows for kind of nuanced outcomes. They are not just pass fail, which I love. I love systems that are not
Right.
just pass fail.
Right.
They create space for complications, advantages, and narrative twists. But you can also expand the conflicts, and you can kind of zoom in, and you can have like these chases, battles, social duels, and other kind of structured contests that are meant to kind of be surprising and dynamic as part of the story. So, but yeah, so it's simple when you want it to be, and it's crunchy when you want it to be. Is
Okay.
kind of
Okay.
how it is described in my research. So
Okay. No. Yeah.
yeah,
Sounds
but
so.
I'm really interested in playing it.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm looking
eh,
forward to testing it out, especially because it's not the system from Avatar.
True. So have you played a system like this before? That would be like a dice pool type system.
Yeah, so I have
Yeah.
sorry.
Okay.
So
No,
yeah,
you're good.
I mean, obviously we've had the Star Wars RPG from
Okay.
Fantasy Flight Games, uh, uh, Daggerheart has a very good system that has that flexibility of being able to have well, I guess Daggerheart doesn't really have a dice pool, but it still has that
So what? Okay. What is meant by dice pool?
outcomes.
So maybe I don't know what that
Yeah,
necessarily
yeah. So
means.
a dice pool is so like in Star Wars, if you
Hmm.
remember, that game has the dice pool of positive dice and negative dice. So
Okay.
in other games, you might have a dice pool of all D6s, right? So some of
Hmm.
the D6
Okay.
games have a dice pool system and they just use D6s, and you'll roll a certain number of D6s depending on your
Okay.
ability score.
So
So
it's not like you
maybe
have a modifier. It's just like, okay, instead of two dice, you're going to roll three dice or four dice
right. So
or
you
something
you
of that
have a
sort.
modifier, but instead of rolling a d20, and having to hit a target number and adding 4 to whatever you roll because your ability score is
Mhm.
4. Instead, it's like my ability score is 4. I roll 4 dice for this. And then, some systems will say a 6 is a hit. Some systems will say a 5 or a 6 are a hit. On those D6 ones.
Right.
In the Star Wars Fantasy Flight system, which is the Genesis system, it is a dice pool of positive dice and negative dice. And they use D8s and D12s. They have custom symbols on them, though, so that's not just regular D8s and D12s.
Mhm.
I think it's a really elegant system, but
Mhm.
um, it does require those dice, or there's a dice app.
Right.
But
Yes. Okay.
essentially,
Yeah.
there's yellow and green positive dice, and there's purple and red negative dice in the Star Wars or Genesis system, and you have successes and failures cancel out, and you have advantage and threat cancel out.
Mhm.
And so you can have a roll that succeeds with threat or with advantage. You can
Right.
have a failure, but that gives an advantage, or
Mm.
even more. Then you also have critical successes and critical failures, which are called triumph and despair, and they're handled a little differently. That's the Star Wars system. Like I said,
Okay.
a dice pool though is essentially going to be, for each roll, you're going to build a handful of dice, and it could be
Yes.
different for
Okay.
every roll, as opposed
So
to rolling 2d12s or
Mhm.
1d20 and
Right.
then taking modifiers on the numbers.
Right. Okay, so that makes sense. And I'm just scrolling through the Kickstarter page here, and I'm assuming it's going to be a D6 dice pool system because you can hear there's an add-on you can get for $30. It's 16 engraved six-sided dice, so it's
Yes, it
D6s,
is a
which by the
d6.
way look pretty awesome.
They look
Uh,
incredible, and
yeah.
because when you turn them to different facings on the d6,
Mhm.
you get a full dragon on the
Yes.
entire set of dice, like one
Mhm.
dragon on it. Oh, love it.
Yeah. When you put
I
all the
don't know if I'm going to
D6s,
be able
yeah.
to get that though.
Yeah. Well, so they have them. They have the dice pack that are the 16 engraved. I'm assuming those are plastic, but then there's the deluxe metal set for 80.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And that
definitely
looks
not doing that.
really good. Like they're
It
good
does.
sharp edge D6s. Yeah, but that one only comes with 8. But anyway, that's always just
That's true.
about the system
I mean,
itself.
now if I definitely, because I love this system so much,
Mhm.
I am going to probably reach out to Magpie and see if we can maybe do create some content for them. I would love to do
Mhm.
that.
Oh,
I
absolutely.
think maybe do an actual play would be great. So
Yes, I
hey, if
agree.
they watch this and you guys want to send us some test material and some of those dice, would love
Yeah,
it.
we would be
We would
all
love it.
for
Yeah.
that. Absolutely.
But no, I
Mhm.
have been, so before we move on, I have to say
Mhm.
I have been a fan of the Temeraire novels and
Yeah.
Naomi Novik's writing. There was only 4 books in the Temeraire series when I started reading it,
Mhm.
um, because I remember the 5th book coming out at the time, and I had already read the first 4,
Mhm.
and I had got it as a free book on Kindle. I think the first book, and
Mhm.
just immediately fell in love with it. So yeah, but yeah, so the Adana system,
Mhm.
like I said, I'm really interested to try it out. I do enjoy dice pool systems, um, and so I'm looking forward to checking that out.
Mhm.
And I also love when it's not just pass fail, right?
Right.
I
Yeah,
we
no, I agree with
That's
that.
one of the reasons why we love Daggerheart. That's one of the reasons why
Mhm.
we love Star Wars. We are currently we still have to finish recording part 2 of our City
Mhm.
of Mist preview,
Yeah.
but it is also has kind of that
Mhm.
ability to have complications or not.
It does,
And
yeah.
so yeah, just any systems like that I love. I really do.
No, no, I agree.
Um,
I like the concept uh, a lot of just the dice pool system, and then like you said that it isn't just pass fail, but there's actually narrative things that happen, and it sounds really cool. So
yeah,
I think with
absolutely.
that, unless you have anything else to add on to engine, I think we'll move on to the atmosphere. And
Let me just say
yeah,
that the engine, or at least the mechanics of the game,
mhm,
one of the things, like I said earlier, is that when you create a character, it is going to be
Mhm.
based off of your character plus your dragon character.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
so, I
cool
mean, that
stuff.
could kind of be, maybe we'll talk about that more in the key feature section. So,
Yeah, probably so. So with that, we'll go ahead and just kind of slip into the atmosphere. And so now this is not supposed to be the premise. This is more the tone and the themes, right? Like because you'll have
yeah,
games, if you think of it in like a video game sense, right? You have games that are dark or comical or cinematic or
yeah. Or
tactical.
is it high
It,
fantasy or high magic, or is
yes.
it low
Yeah.
magic, or is it, um, or is it gritty, grimdark,
Hmm.
kind of thing.
Right. Yeah,
So yeah,
because all that makes a difference for what kind of games people are going to enjoy. So, in
absolutely.
your opinion, what do you think the tone, the atmosphere is of the Temeraire RPG?
So the atmosphere or tone of Temeraire is kind of this blend of kind of like disciplined military life, but with these like sweeping grand adventures and this kind of like heartfelt partnership with your dragon
Hmm.
companion, essentially.
Yeah.
Um, and so, there are going to be decisions that you have to make based on your dragon partner, right?
Hmm.
There's going to be things that are going to affect your bond, probably. There are going to be things that you have to make decisions in combat based on maybe how you and your dragon would fight, or how you and your formation would fight if you're part of a formation, because
Hmm.
there are in the books, and they are trying to make a way for this to be, translate to the tabletop, is kind of that political and military command structure, right? So like
Hmm.
regimental like briefings and orders and ranks, and but at the same time, your crew are your kind of like found family, and so you have a crew, and I think there's even you can even, you know, there's like an armorer and a harness master and harnessman and leatherworker and a gunner. And so these are all things that you can do to customize your dragon, right?
Right.
You've got your captain, your lieutenants, your um, signal ensigns, right? So in the books, you've got these, like, think about a ship, right? During this
Hmm.
time, kids, literal like 10 and 12-year-old kids would sometimes be sent off to be on a ship. And they
Right.
were, they can't do a whole lot. So they're like
Oh
lookouts
yeah.
and signal ensigns.
Hmm.
They go set signals and they assist the captain or whatever. So
Hmm.
stuff like that. It's a really cool system. Um, so I think you've got that. I think there's a bunch of emotional nuance that'll happen with
Hmm.
your dragons. I think that
Hmm.
there's also this kind of romantic, not like romance, but like this kind of
Hmm.
like romantic notion of heroism and adventure that is often associated with sailing and ships, right?
Right.
It
Okay.
because that's the whole thing of the books, is that it applies that to dragons and being
Right.
being a dragon captain, or a crew on the dragon.
Hmm. Okay.
Um, and so yeah, I think that that's the tone, is this kind of like really, and that's kind of what you get when you read books that are from that time period, right? The
Hmm.
Victorian or Napoleonic kind of like British, whatever. And it's not just, like I said, the books are not just about Britain and France,
Hmm.
right? Um, there's people from all over the world. There's people from Australia. There's people from the U.S., from
Right.
the burgeoning colonies who have already gained their independence from
Yeah.
the from Britain. And
Hmm.
it's when you get to those sections in the books, it's pretty interesting to see how the Americans treat the British, or how they interact,
Hmm.
when especially when they're both like foreigners in a different land, and they're the
Right.
only ones that can speak English,
Yeah.
and so they're like trying to communicate with each other. Um, but yeah, it's pretty fun. Um,
Yeah. Oh man.
even you can get like the
Mhm.
Aztecs or the Incans in South America,
Mhm.
and they've got like the feathered dragons that are brightly
Yeah.
colored and everything, and there's like fully adorned with gold and everything. And the
Right.
dragons are still vain creatures, and so you know,
Yeah.
got to buy your dragon like a fancy gold chain with some gems on it or something. But no,
Right.
the
Very
the the
cool.
atmosphere, the tone is very like I said, that kind of like um romantic heroism or adventure is I think
Mhm.
a
Okay.
pretty good.
No, no, that's cool. I think that helps a lot with people who aren't like very sure about the world, the system, things like that, to let them know kind of what to expect.
Yeah.
Uh, and so then I think we'll go ahead and we'll move to our key features. And I know we've already hit on some of these, but let's kind of work our way through them where we're looking at, the standout elements, the things that make this different, the unique mechanics or classes or the dragons, the captains, the like all the things that make this, stand out, makes it different from other TTRPGs. So what would you think? What are some highlights here?
Yeah, so I think that one of the biggest features that stand out is the fact that you create both a captain and a dragon.
Right.
I
Yeah,
think I
absolutely.
think immediately that is like this is part of your what you're going to play. You're going to play two characters in one, essentially, which is phenomenal. I love that
Mhm.
because
Right.
you can get very custom in it. Um, but there's even things where there's gonna be a lot of I think there's gonna be a lot of social um, opportunities. So
Mhm.
or encounters, right? So there's gonna be a lot of social encounters too. So I think that this system is going to thrive on both, where some systems are like all about combat, right? This one I think is going
Right.
to lean into the role play, into the social aspect. I mean, there's
Okay.
even rules or mechanics on how to attend a ball or
Okay.
some sort of high society party, right?
Mhm.
Not like rules per se, but there's like examples of dances, even in the quick start rules
Right.
here. Um,
Okay.
so yeah, it's really interesting. Let's see. There's a couple others that I would say. I mean, again, the bond between the dragon and the captain is going to be huge.
That is going to be that's very unique. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm not, and I could be wrong. I don't know of another system where you create, that kind of like bonded relationship with
yeah.
anything where you create like you said, the captain and the dragon. I don't know of any other system
The
that
closest
is.
that we have seen, in
Yeah.
my opinion, is another system that's not even out yet, and it's actually the last one we did a peek review of was Draconum by Crossed Paths Games,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
it came out or it announced and it was on Kickstarter. I backed it for sure.
Hmm.
And we have a great partnership with Cross Paths Games. They're
Yes.
incredible. And so they sent us some of the playtest material, and
Hmm.
their system Draconum
Hmm.
is that kind of system. It's a dragon and
Okay.
it's a character
That
and a
part, yeah.
dragon. Now it
That's
is a
very
lot
similar.
more D&D based fantasy where you've
Yeah.
got different races or kin or whatever
Hmm.
you want to call them. So you can be a goblin, or you can be a druid, you can be an elf,
Hmm.
you can whatever. And there are all these different kinds of dragons, and their dragons are very unique and very different, which is cool.
Right.
Um, but
For
it's
sure.
funny because when they came out, they listed a whole bunch of these kind of dragon stories that were
Mhm.
inspirations, and Temeraire was one of them, as well as Anne McCaffrey's, Dragon Rider of Pern,
Mhm.
and all sorts of other dragon stories, right? The Dragon Heart movies. Do you remember those? Back in the day. If you're young, go look it up. Sean Connery as
Right.
a dragon is peak. Uh,
That's great.
but
Yeah.
essentially, That was originally, I was like, oh, this would be great to make a
Hmm.
Temeraire setting. And I'm not kidding you. I had that thought, and it was like 2 weeks later, and Magpie Games was like, we're doing a Temeraire RPG with Naomi Novik. And I was like, you know. And so I was very excited. I was even more
Yes.
excited that it wasn't the Avatar system, just because in all fairness, I need to give that system another chance. But I
Right.
was just
But
glad
it
that
did
it's
not
not.
click well.
It
It
didn't
didn't
click
click
well
well
with
with us.
us. I think
Yeah.
it was probably more on the starter box, but we'll see.
Right. Yeah. I mean, well, that's one of the things when we're doing a playtest too, is we're looking at what
Yes.
kind of material does this game give players and the DM to start with.
Yeah.
And so we run whatever the quick start is, and yeah, that one was lacking.
And so some other key features of the Temeraire RPG is going to be uh, aerial combat, right? It's going to,
Mhm.
I have a feeling it's going to be
Right.
very distinct, just like the fiction in the novels. It's
Hmm.
going to be tactical and positional, but it's going to have some fun story elements, cinematic elements, I think.
Right.
It's also the fact that it is a alternate fictional history setting,
Hmm.
right? We have Asia, we have France, we have England in this Napoleonic era,
Yeah.
and all of the things that are going on during that time. We have Asia and China and their dragons, and you could probably imagine, oh well, maybe they would have like lots of dragons because it's
Hmm.
China, and maybe they've got you know, a completely different society and culture built around
Yeah.
dragons. Maybe. And then you've got, like I said, it's just very cool, very cool. To visit these worlds and see, oh, you know what? I'm from this part of the world. What does that part of the world look like with dragons? And so yeah, it's kind
Right.
of that,
Yeah.
which I think is funny because when you think about it, I think that's part of why Harry Potter works so well, especially as the Harry Potter setting
Hmm.
expands, because then you've
Hmm.
got the schools in America and you've got the schools in South
Right.
America. So it's that kind of relatability.
Right. Where it brings in, aspects of your own world into it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so one thing that I think, like I said too, is there's going to be, uh, so they've said clear onboarding for this game to make it easy. I think the another feature is that, like I said, focusing on service and duty to a military or a culture or
Hmm.
whatever kind of captain and dragon you create. I think that's going to be there. So I think it's going to give
Yeah.
it a very purpose, character driven tone. So,
Hmm. Okay.
so yeah,
Perfect.
it's very cool. Again, the pick up the quick start guide. I
Hmm.
absolutely encourage it. There is examples of, how they do combat and wounds where it's like humans versus humans or dragons versus dragons or dragons versus humans and vice versa. Because let me tell you, in the books, it is brutal. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Naomi Novak does a great job of uh, showing what war would look like when a dragon comes down and just sweeps its claws through ranks of infantry. It's
Hmm.
not pretty, okay?
Right.
Like
Oh yeah.
as you can
Okay.
imagine. But at the same
Mhm.
time, you've got artillery and you've got pepper guns, which are literally shooting like, you know, flak and pepper balls up to like injure dragons and stuff. And like
Mhm.
it's just crazy. It's just crazy. I
Right.
love it.
Okay.
Um, you know, very cool world that she has built. So highly recommend it. There's even like the ability to find love, okay, for your character. Although it's really hard, and it's funny because the books describe how once you're bonded to a
Wait, to
dragon,
find what? You kinda cut out for just right when you
oh,
went to say what we were finding.
to find love, Jeff.
Oh, okay, okay, love.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
In that Victorian England style, romance fantasy that accompanies Jane Austen and other books of the age.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
and so, it's funny. There's some artwork of a dragon peeking in the window because again, dragons are jealous creatures, right? And so when you
Mhm.
have like maybe this nobleman who is bonded to a dragon, and maybe they think that they need to, you know, be a part of society and maybe marry or whatever, kind of like that thing. There's a lot
Mhm.
of difficulties when you have like a 10-ton dragon as your,
Oh, yeah.
uh, you know,
Your companion
a
and it
significant other would take backseat to that, I think. So,
right, yeah. No, for sure. Okay.
but it's funny because they
So
talk about body and cunning and manners and steel as like
mhm.
some of your abilities. Those are your attributes.
Right.
Manners. I love manners as an attribute. That's fantastic. Um, yeah,
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's I'm looking up.
skills are kind of you know, agility, guile, and
Mhm.
they coordinate with the abilities, right? So guile is cunning, agility is body, um,
Mhm.
performance is manners. So yeah, it's persuasion is manners.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's really cool. It's really cool. So um, yeah,
Oh, yeah.
there's a lot of different things to look at here,
Yeah,
right?
just glancing through here, there's also just something that I really like in games. There's actually 4 different dangers.
Mm-hmm.
It says
Yeah.
the quick start. So, like every PC has 4 different dangers. And one is like dishonor, which is getting in trouble with military and its structures, which
Yep.
is scandal, getting in trouble with
Scandal.
society. Then stress, like mental damage, exhaustion, and then wounds, physical damage leading to death. Like
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of TTRPGs are only ever focused on physical damage when there's
Maybe
like so much
stress.
more. Yeah,
Right.
maybe
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 stress.
stress. And so I love when there's a game that brings in things like, oh, well, you actually need to keep an upholded, you have to uphold your standing in society, and you have to,
Yeah.
and I thought that was kind of cool. City of Mist has some of those elements as well. And so just
Mhm.
seeing that there, I think is really cool, and it kind of adds into like how you were saying there's rules for how to go to a grand feast or a ball,
Yeah.
and kind of keep your place in society, which that's really cool. That's gonna be an interesting part of like an RPG that we don't do or see a lot.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
And there's like complications that this PDF is describing for a lot of them.
Mhm.
It's funny though, like in the books, right? Dragons are long-lived creatures, and so they
Mhm.
will live possibly hundreds of years. And so it's funny because there's, you know, when they're bonded, the human's going to die first, and so there's almost this sometimes there's this like push to like, have an heir essentially for the dragon to maybe bond
Oh,
later
yeah.
in life. That way you get full service out of the dragon and they're
Right,
not just
okay, yeah.
sitting around or having to be sent to the breeding grounds, which there are breeding grounds for dragons.
Mhm,
um so yeah, it's this really interesting situation.
mhm. Very cool.
Let's see. I was trying to get down to there's maps in here, and it's fun because like this is Italy, right? And it's like, oh yeah, that's a map of Italy.
Right.
Not just like a random fantasy map. It's like
Mhm. No, 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 that's actually
that's
Italy,
actually Italy.
and
And
to
then
me, that
there's
might be, like, the craziest thing. It's just that
right,
this is actually our world.
but not
Yeah,
quite, right? Everything's a
yeah.
little different because it's a little fantasy fiction, right?
Well, yeah, yeah. Like, there's fantasy, but the fantasy is, like, in our world, and so, like,
Mm-hmm.
when I'm naming places and history and things like that, like, it's actually the world, and it's
And
actually France and
it's
Italy
funny
and yeah.
because each culture has different traditions on like how they name dragons, right? So the British and some of the French will name their dragons, like the British especially will name their dragons often for like old Greek or Roman, like,
Mm,
characters
like
or
mythology and stuff.
mythology. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
And so you've got like Centenarius, which is a heavyweight older dragon, in this
Oh, you
NPC
cut out right
list.
there.
Oh, sorry. So in this old, like looking at some NPCs here, if you're
Mhm,
following along on the video,
mhm.
it shows an NPC stat block for Centenarius, an older heavyweight dragon. long necked with an almost beak like snout, thickened with weight and age. So
Love it.
it's
Okay.
it's interesting for
Yeah.
sure.
Ah, that's cool.
Um, yeah, absolutely. And there's again, there's so much customization that you can do. Um, yeah, I'm excited. I'm very
Yeah.
excited.
No, that's very
Um,
cool. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so let's see. I'm looking at the pre-mades here just to look over the character sheet and stuff. Have you
mhm.
given that much look at?
I did look at them. There is really cool, interesting characters there.
Mhm.
Um, I you can definitely go look at them yourself because there's only 3
Right.
PDFs in the quick start. It's got some pre-gens, it has the quick start rules, and then it has what is it? I think it just has like a play aid, which is like a few pages or one
Hmm.
page
Okay.
even.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Awesome. Okay. No, very cool. I mean, to me, the world looks really interesting. I'm planning to read the books very, very soon, and then I'm going to be really excited to actually play the game. But with that, I think we've made our way all the way through our peak system, having
Yeah.
um, y- looked at everything. Is there anything else you'd want to add or say about the game
Oh man.
or the world, or really any last thoughts
I
you have?
I highly recommend reading the books. There's 9 books. If you don't like to read physical books, you can get them on Kindle. You can listen to the audiobooks. Although for whatever reason, um, book 8, at least in the US where I'm at,
Hmm.
isn't showing up in Audible, but book 9 is, and books 1 through 7 are. So, but definitely check them out. They're very good, um, very well written, and Naomi Novak does a great job writing that era in this kind of historical fiction setting. So, yeah, I would say definitely do that. But kind of like how we talk about Brandon Sanderson
Hmm.
and the Stormlight or the Cosmere RPG, you don't have to read the books to play this RPG. I am confident that anyone could pick it up and learn to play it without
Hmm.
having that background setting. So,
Right.
but yeah,
Okay.
I think it's well worth it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, with that, I think we will go ahead and conclude this podcast, this peek at the Temeraire RPG. Hopefully, the next time you hear us talking about it, we'll be playtesting it.
That'd be great.
Yeah. So, all right, Seth, you want to go ahead and sign us out? You normally lead the
Yeah,
endings.
absolutely. So, again, if you are listening to the podcast, go check out the video on YouTube. It is youtube.com/ at the RPG Rundown LTN. And we are, of course, the original RPG Rundown.
Yep.
And so, yeah, check us out there. Give us a subscribe, like the video, leave us a comment. We'd love to talk to you about this. If you've played the Adana system, we'd love to hear about it.
Hmm.
If you are a fan of Temeraire, I would love to hear about it and talk to you about it. But yeah, we are part of Love Thy Nerd. Love Thy Nerd is a podcast network. It is an organization that is dedicated to sharing the love of Christ with our nerdy neighbors. And so go check out lovethynerd.com. You can see all sorts of different podcasts and videos that they have covering board games to wrestling to pop culture, in anything in between.
Oh yeah.
So they're a great group of people. They have a very active Discord as well. And I've had the honor and privilege, Jeff and I had the honor and privilege to meet a whole bunch of them over the last few years,
Hmm.
and can't say enough good things about Love Thy Nerd.
Absolutely.
So
No.
be sure to check them out. But you know what? Again, hit us up on socials. We'd love to talk to you about this and more. But from our table to yours, thanks for joining us on the RPG Rundown.
And until next time, may your rolls be epic and your stories legendary.